This is our video. It's never too late to start collecting antique dolls. I'm helping my friend make this video because I want her to share the story about how as a brand new collector with no experience, starting with a doll in her attic, she went on to learn how to collect antique dolls on eBay where the prices were affordable. She learned that it didn't matter if you started with a naked and broken doll, as long as you were careful and did your research, that because they were missing their wig or needed mending or didn't have their clothes, they became affordable. So we are going to tell you the story of how she got her dolls in various condition and turned them into her wonderful collection, which is so touching. As she will tell you, she's not into these as an investment. Those days may be over. She is into them because of their beautiful character faces and the artistry of the dolls and their clothing. And so we will take you with her stories through a variety of dolls. Some that came naked and broken, some that came dressed, but the clothing was inauthentic and she searched for authentic clothing. Some that only needed one slight change and were completely transformed. Some that came in their original condition. And lastly, we'll look at the French doll market. Most of her dolls are German, and there are many fewer French dolls to be found, and they are much more expensive and much more difficult to find their clothing. So she'll also discuss that for you. So again, in 9 months, starting from scratch, doing her research, she collected this wonderful collection. The average cost of these dolls is between $300 and $500, not the thousands I was imagining. And some are more expensive, some are less expensive. She started with, she was simply reading a book called The Mourner's Bench. And in this book, in this cottage, broken dolls were taken and fixed. And my friend read that book and she said, I have an old broken doll in my attic. It was my aunt's. She went up, and here's a picture of her family, people who had that doll, and this is back in the 1800s maybe. Looks like that to me, or certainly the earliest of the 1900s. This is the family where her aunt is who had that doll. And that was where she started her quest and then went on to make this wonderful collection. The heritage of each doll, so that she can pass this on to her own family and they can find out exactly who these dolls are and how they came to be. This is her collection. And now we're going to continue. My friend, this new collector, is going to tell stories and inspire you with her journey in collecting these dolls. So, Lynn, starting again with the Mourner's Bench book, can you tell us how you started doll collecting? What happened?
Well, I read this book and got the idea that I had my aunt's antique doll in the attic. And so I came up the stairs and went in the attic and found her face down in a box, dirty, and kind of in bad condition. And I picked her up and I rolled her over, started looking at her face, and I thought, oh my gosh, she has teeth? And then I looked at her skin and I thought, she's beautiful. she's absolutely beautiful. She might be dirty, and at the time she was torn, but I thought, she's beautiful. I want to get her fixed up. So I sent her away to a doll hospital because she had these tears in her kid, and they took kid gloves and repaired the tears. They reattached her arms and made new feet for her because the sawdust was coming out of her feet. Also,
Wow, she was in bad shape.
she was. And I thought that her kid should be cleaned, but I found out that that is not a good idea.
Now, didn't you have an initial bad experience with the doll hospital that was a learning for you?
I did. The first doll hospital, which, you know, I just took the first doll hospital that came up on the internet, was a doll hospital that just put some tape on her, and the arms came back one longer than the other, and it was not a good experience. So I did better research and sent her off, and when I sent her off the second time, she came back with a professional job that was done right.
Okay, let me see if I can get a close-up of some of this repair work. There it is. First they taped it, the hospital that didn't do a good job, and then at the second hospital they took kid gloves, cut them with pinking shears, and patched with those so that it's an authentic
Right, and you can see
leather patch.
Yes, and you can see now her arms are the same length.
And her feet, you can see, have been repaired. Okay, so just hold her and let me scan this. When I first saw Lynn's dolls, I had never gotten close enough to touch an antique doll, much less seen one without its clothes on. I had no idea what their bodies were like. Look, this is what her body's like. Of course, now when was she made? How old is this body?
She was made in about 1898, early maybe 1900. And what I have found out, and you can identify dolls usually on the back of their necks, or on their, in this case it's a shoulder plate, there is usually an incised information on the back of these antique dolls.
All right, I'm going to go in as close as I can, and it does say, it says Lily. And what does it say underneath? Lily?
AM 370.
Lily, AM 370. And AM stands for?
Armand Marcel.
Yes, and even as a non-collector, I know, oh yeah, that's important. Okay.
So that's how we can date this doll, and it's how we can say she was made in Germany. And she was probably the most highly produced doll in the world at the time. All the porcelain dolls at that time were made in Germany and France. And this doll probably came through Marshall Fields in Chicago, and then down to Joliet, where my aunt lived.
Oh, you lived in Joliet, right near Marshall Fields. I came from Chicago, and Marshall Fields is the place to go.
Yes. I also know now that she has glass eyes, what they call open mouth with teeth. She has a shoulder plate, in other words, her head doesn't move. Her head and shoulders are all one piece. She's got a kid body with cloth legs and cloth feet, and she has porcelain lower arms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way you identify and evaluate a doll.
All right, so you got her repaired the second time, and then what did you do?
And then we had, actually, the first doll hospital sent clothes back with her. And I still have her in these clothes. They're not my favorite clothes, but they are fairly good. She came back with pantaloons, a dress that was made for her, and a bonnet, and this wig. This wig is synthetic. It's not antique, but it's what she's wearing right now. It's what she has.
So that clothing was made now for her, and it's made from new fabrics or
New
old?
fabric,
Okay,
new fabric.
So brand new.
Brand new, but it's made in
the style.
appropriate style.
Yep.
With her pantaloons. She has brand new little shoes, appropriate style, but new, wrong material. And she has socks that look antique but are new. Now I sent to the First Doll Hospital a handkerchief that belonged to my aunt and asked them if they could incorporate the handkerchief in some way or the lace, and they did. They made a little bonnet for her, and this lace is off of my Aunt Martha's handkerchief.
Okay, so maybe if you could put that over by the wig, and when you're ready, put that wig on her so we can at least see.
Okay. And then they made a little hanky for her to have with this is
With the authentic
a piece of my aunt's
fabric. Your aunt's
hanky.
Your aunt's hanky was used for both of them.
Yes.
What a great idea.
Yes. And then I bought her a little coat. This was very inexpensive little coat. It's made of velvet. It's probably 1910 or so, this coat, and a little hat to go with the coat.
And how did you buy those?
I bought those on eBay, which there are quite a few clothes on eBay for dolls.
All right.
This was terrifically inexpensive.
So could you just put her wig on and maybe her bonnet, and then we'll give you time to get her totally dressed. But I think it'd be great to see just what good happens when you put a wig on. Look at that. All right, let me zoom in on that just to see how much better she already looks. Look at you, girl. There she is. Now she's starting to look like a wonderful, valuable
Really all
antique
complete.
doll.
Moving around so you can see her and her beautiful bonnet and her new dress and her shoes and her socks.
She has come a long way.
A doll that I saw on eBay that intrigued me because of her face. That's the first thing I look for, is does the doll have the it look? Does the doll on the close-up of the face have a beautiful face? And this doll did. It was dressed like this, or rather undressed like this, with the bonnet and the naked body. But that is always a good thing because it will be less expensive. The doll will be less expensive if dressed this way. And she doesn't look that great. It was a good thing that she didn't have any clothes on, because that means that she will be less expensive and she may not look that great to other collectors. So I thought that was a positive. I couldn't get my mind off of her face, so I eventually did buy her, and now that I've done the research on her, I know that she is a bisque doll, which all of these dolls are bisque, and that is because their head is bisque, and that is a type of ceramic that is molded into these heads. We call them porcelain dolls, but they're actually bisque dolls, and all the dolls are referred to according to what their head is made of. You see, the body is much different than Lily's body, and this is called a composition body. It's made of sawdust and glue and some other things. And she's articulated. She has joints in her shoulders, elbows, wrists, knees, hips, and neck. Her neck is on a swivel socket.
So you're saying that you bought her before you did research on her?
No, actually, I read her description, and her description said that she had a DK or D8 on the back of her head, and I did a lot of research on that because that was, and some people think it's inconclusive that she's a Kessner, because Kessners usually have more marks, but I looked at many books and compared her face with close-up pictures in my large books, and determined that with that mark and with this face and with this beautiful, beautiful body, you see her fingers are so perfect, that she is a Kessner. So I knew she was a Kessner before I bought her. And that makes her more valuable. Some people just collect Kessner dolls. They're really quite beautiful.
I really like your point that when you're going shopping on eBay, that a lot of people who don't understand what you've learned about getting affordable dolls would just think that she looked ugly because she didn't have any clothes. And for you, that's where you get to enter the market and get them at an affordable price, and then start your search for clothing.
Right.
Okay, so can you tell about how
Where
you went then after you got her?
After I got her, I was triply pleased because all the pictures that she had I didn't think did her justice. I had this wig made for her by a wig maker. It's made of mohair, which is the authentic material, and it's handmade. So she now has a beautiful wig that matches her hair color.
I'm going to zoom in just to
face color,
see how much she's transformed just by having her wig. Oh, Dolly. Beautiful.
And then I shopped for her underclothes and found this antique lace slip and pantaloons and this beautiful antique dress.
And part of what's exciting to me as someone who's never even touched an antique doll is to see these antique fabrics. You just can't begin to appreciate them. Hold that up, please, and hold up maybe the pantaloons. You just can't appreciate until you put your hands on these fabrics that are from when? The late 1800s, early 1900s?
Yes, this doll is 1900 or so.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. It's just something about the patina of these antique fabrics that is just thrilling. All right, are you ready to dress her up for us?
Sure. Has her all dressed up in her new wig and her bow and her pretty antique dress and her beautiful antique slip.
We like to show the dolls around because the back of their outfits are often just as beautiful as the front or the back of her authentic mohair wig in this case.
This is Miss Dolly, and this is how she first looked to me. I just loved her face. It had that look.
Okay, again, just the doll, not the dress. So when you first saw her, she didn't have that dress.
Correct.
Okay.
She was in her little slip and her socks. And this wig is her original wig. It's mohair. It had never been off of her head, actually, when I bought her. Her original earrings. And she is a German doll made by the Henrik Company. And they were well known for their beautiful bodies. You see how that composition body just shimmers in the light now. It's perfect. Her hands are so beautiful. The Henrik people made the best German bodies, and her face, even though it is a Henrik sculptor, was made by Simon Halbig Company. But she is called a Henrik doll, and at about this time that actually this was the first doll that I bought on eBay, and it was about that time that I discovered that many of these dolls that have what they call ideal child faces are called dollies, and I didn't know that, so I call her Miss Dolly. Over time, I searched for her dress, knowing exactly how big she was, how tall she was, what the length was, and what the measurements were, and I found this beautiful lace dress that goes so well with her little slip and her coloring, and I thought it was just perfect. And it is the first doll dress I bought on eBay, and then I bought these little shoes for her, which are new shoes but made in the antique style. This is the German style with these little rosettes on them.
Okay, new shoes, but I want to come in on the fabric of these antique dress and the antique slip. It's again something about the patina that they get over the years that you just can't beat these authentic antique fabrics. They're just so beautiful.
I don't believe this doll was played with very much. You can see her hands are perfect. Her wig was perfect. I know that she only had one owner who died, and it went into the hands of an antique dealer, and I bought from that dealer. But this doll was not played with. She's too perfect.
Miss Dolly, and what kind is she again?
She's a Henrik Henrik. Her head was made by the Simon Halbig company, but the sculptor, the dolls all have to begin with the sculptor, an artist who creates a mold. And so the first step is, of course, creating the face in clay. And so all these doll companies hired sculptors to sculpt their faces. And each sculpted face, each individual sculpted face has a mold number. This mold number is 79. All Henrik 79 dolls will look like this doll. Not all of them will have beautiful painting. That's another thing you look for, is once the doll mold comes out, it has to be painted, and some painters were better than others, and I think this was done beautifully.
All right.
This is Dolly, all dressed up in her beautiful dress and her new shoes. Dolly's dress was about $100. This dress is expensive because of all the work that went into it. And her shoes, even though they're new, were $30. So dressing the dolls can be expensive. But for me, once I have them dressed right, that's the way she will always be, because now she is in an appropriate restored condition. And that's what's fulfilling for me, is to make sure that these dolls are authentic and have integrity and are wearing the clothes and the shoes that are appropriate.
Yes, you've said that's really your mission,
Yes.
not making money on them and not even dressing and undressing them, but taking them as pieces of art that have been neglected or hurt and bringing them back to the authentic condition they were as a piece of art.
Yes.
The integrity of that.
Yes.
Before we go on, I'd like you to, I've zoned in on the beautiful lacy fabric that would make it worth paying $100 to get the antique fabric. And I'm wishing you would just lift up her dress and show us the slip. There's her beautiful, authentic, antique slip. Then her pantaloons. And those beautiful jointed knees. Aren't they so cute? Just so dimpled and perfect. And the idea that this doll from the early 1900s would be so posable. It's just a wonderful thing. So I'm going to zoom back and we're going to go around. See her front to back, her beautiful hair. Is this a mohair wig?
Yes.
That she came with, her authentic wig. And just let her come around to the front.
And this is a doll I call Big Sis, because she is a Henrik 109. That's her mold number. When I bought this doll, I broke my own rule, because I said that I would never buy a large, as in 30-inch doll, because I thought they're so lifelike that would be, maybe it would be creepy to have a doll that was so lifelike and so big. And I promised myself I would never buy one. But when I saw this doll, she had that look, that beautiful look. Actually, when I first saw her in the picture, she had a blonde wig. And she had this hat, and this coat, and this dress, and these boots on. But this blonde wig, I looked at her eyebrows and I saw that her eyebrows were brown. And so I emailed the seller and said, "Is this blonde wig her original?" And she said, "No." She said, "I have her original wig, which is brown. Would you prefer it?" And I said, "Definitely." That's one way you can tell if the wig is the right wig or not, is does it match the eyebrows. So I fell in love with her and bought her, even though I did not like the way she was dressed particularly. The boots were wrong, the coat was too short, the hat was wrong, but again, and she had a scuff mark on her arm, but again, those things actually worked in my favor. So I did buy her, and when I took her out of the box, I thought she was, again, much more beautiful than I had ever imagined, especially with her brown hair.
So you've used her as an example of your mission to take dolls that have been broken and restore them, but also that have been dressed inauthentically. The blonde wig instead of the brown one that went with her eyebrows is an example. And this doll represents to you some more examples, things you just need to fix. It's part of your mission to get her looking properly.
This hat is probably, I don't know, 1930, 1940. This is all wrong. These shoes aren't even doll shoes. They're boots from a real child. I mean, they're antique boots. They're valuable, but as you can see, they don't even fit her. Her ankles are too broad. And this dress actually is quite beautiful. But when I received her, this dress was almost orange. It was so full of being in a room where someone smoked.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And of course I've been reading about how to restore clothes, and they said don't take these antique fabrics into anything but warm, soapy, ivory type water, detergent. Well, that didn't take it out. So I used a little lemon in the water, and I put this dress in the sun for 3 or 4 days, and that didn't take it all out. So I finally said, I don't like the dress with the yellow cast. I'm going to take the chance and put a little Clorox in the water. I did, and it came out this beautiful creamy ivory. She also had great big black ribbon wrapped around her waist, so this little lace piece here you couldn't even see. So I took off the black lace and I put in the white, and she no longer wears this coat. The coat.
What a difference that makes. Let's just look. It had a black ribbon around her waist, possibly to try to match those inappropriate black boots, and you took a piece of ivory colored ribbon that matched the ivory patina of this restored fabric, lace that through, and look what a difference it makes. How beautiful.
I bought her new shoes. These are kid shoes, authentic kid shoes, and new antique socks. And
okay, let's look at these
right.
antique socks, because I know they're hard to find and expensive. They can be expensive. Look at that. Now, are those hand knit or
Yes,
what?
yes.
Oh my goodness. And are they, do we know if they're made of silk or
I'm not sure.
thread? Certainly not synthetic, because it just didn't exist at that time. And for instance, how much do these kid shoes come? Are they from the early 1900s? They look.
Yes, they are. They are appropriate. Again, they have the little rosettes.
Oh yes.
And they're made of kid. They're appropriate for the German doll. I even bought her a little cameo.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I don't think this is antique, but it looked quite authentic.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We will dress her up the best that you can for now. And my understanding is you haven't quite finished with her. She's not totally where you want her to be. But let's dress her and you can say.
Okay. And this is Big Sis in her nice clean dress and without the coat that doesn't fit her, and with her little locket, little cameo that I bought her, and her new old shoes.
Okay, but let's comment first on that wig. Now, unless you had really questioned that eBay seller, you would have bought her with an inappropriate yellow wig, blonde wig. You were the one who said, wait, that wig doesn't go with those eyebrows. And then you found out the seller was going to just discard or keep this beautiful brown wig. And so you got to be on your toes and know your stuff. So here we go. Here's her locket. Again, you told us how you had to get the smoke out of this outfit and how you replaced that black ribbon with that beautiful ivory ribbon. Look at her beautiful hands. Beautiful eyelet. And here are her authentic antique socks and her new authentic antique shoes. So you have really worked to restore her to something that fits your ideal for the work of art she was meant to be. And I had asked you to talk about the coat. You decided that coat really didn't go with her, that it's too short for her, for the dress. And then you told me that there were problems with this coat and how you fixed them. So tell us about that.
Most of the old coats that were made of wool, which this one is, it's fully lined, it's beautifully made, and it's old. But it has moth holes, and it had many, many moth holes down the front of the coat. So I bought this antique lace and had a seamstress put the lace on the coat, and it dressed it up considerably and covered up a lot of the moth holes. I also put new buttons on here that were mother of pearl buttons. And I think the coat now is very appropriate. It's old, it's antique, it now has the antique lace on it, and it's quite beautiful, but it needs to go on a smaller doll.
But if you had restored that with the present day lace, the game is lost.
Never. I would never ever consider putting new lace on this beautiful antique coat. Wouldn't not occur to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We turned her around, this is Big Sis, with her beautiful brown wig. And this wig is authentic, but it is human hair. Most of the wigs at the time were mohair, but this is human hair. And the reason this is a human hair wig is that this particular mold that Henrik made was a mold made for the French market. And the French wigs were much more expensive and much more, they were more beautiful, and this wig was made for the French market. It's a human hair wig.
And here is the back of Big Sis.
In my passion to make sure that these antique dolls are dressed appropriately, I found this doll on the internet. And when I found her, she had black hair with light brown eyebrows, and she had on this green dress, which I've just tied around her for now.
Okay, but I've scanned in so we can just see her beautiful face.
But that was the thing that caught me, was that beautiful face.
Look at this, got open mouth with teeth, how cute.
And those long eyelashes, and I just fell in love with her. But she had a terrible black wig. These Northern European dolls with their pale bisque faces do not look good in the dark, dark wigs. They need brown or blonde wigs, and so she looked totally inappropriate.
And you can see how her eyebrows are blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kinds of things that you notice. Even though you only started collecting a few months ago, you already saved yourself from some terrible wig disasters. I'm going to scan down her a little to show this dress.
Now, this dress is beautiful, but it is made with modern fabrics, and in my opinion, it was the wrong color for her. So I had to find her a new dress and a new wig. I'm still searching for just the right wig. That's why she has the hat on.
So how did you know? I look at this as a non-expert and I think, well, that's a pretty lacy apron-y thing. How did you know it was new fabric and not antique?
I don't know, it might be just my intuition, but it's, I look at it, it just looks like new cotton to me, and when you touch it, it's absolutely new fabric. It's stiff, and I don't know, to me I can tell in a picture that this is the wrong dress for her.
And her socks and shoes came with her?
Her socks and shoes are new. I mean,
okay, maybe let's take her dress off. And
yes.
So you got her a blonde wig.
Yes, which it does not fit her appropriately, and it's the right color, but it's not the right size, and that's why right now she has this little hat on. Most of my dolls are in a constant state of restoration. These shoes are authentic, they're antique, the socks are antique, and I bought those both for her. This dress is an antique doll dress. It was made over 100 years ago. I bought it from a gal in St. Petersburg who has some beautiful antique doll clothes. And this is a lace over over a silk taffeta.
Can you lift that again? I wasn't
Yes.
looking. Over a silk taffeta. And what's under there? I see pantaloons or something.
Yes, she's got little pantaloons that are antique.
Let me zoom in on those little pink laces. And that, again, the patina of the antique fabric. Oh, look. Oh, how beautiful. I'll zoom on her shoes. All right. So again, that is your passion, to keep working with the doll, and it may take, you know, a long time to get it exactly right.
Yes, you can buy the wigs on eBay, you measure the circumference of the head, and then you buy by the circumference of the head. And so I'm looking for a mohair, blonde, 14-inch wig. And it has to be antique. There are some that are handmade now, but I'm looking for an old wig, and I have not found it for her yet, but I will.
And when she's perfect, you'll just leave her dressed.
Right, I will. She will be done.
Okay. All right, now we're moving on to dolls, where instead of starting out naked and broken or needing a complete redressing to be authentic, in these cases, our new collector was just able to recognize the potential from the beautiful face and from her research, and know that or find out that one simple change could make a huge difference. So she's going to describe that as one of these examples will be this doll.
And this is Floridora. That is her name. She was made by Armand Marcel, a company in Germany. A little bit later than the first doll, Lily. She's an AM390, which means that she has a socket head and she's got a cloth body, but her head moves around. I loved her face. I thought she had great personality, and I didn't know immediately that this wig was wrong, but she looked complete when I saw her, and she was quite inexpensive.
Okay, let me scan down her clothing and see. Again, she has the parted mouth and the teeth, which are so endearing and childlike. And you saw her in the red wig, and she looked complete to you. So let me scan down her whole beautiful, authentic outfit that she came with. So this is antique, appropriate clothing. Lots of lace ruffles and antique shoes and socks. So you bought her thinking, she's complete.
She's complete. But when she came to me and I unpacked her, I was, of course, quite pleased with her face, but realized that her wig was synthetic. It was not mohair, and so I measured her head and had a mohair wig made for her. And I tried lots of different colors on her. I wasn't sure what was the right color, but I ended up buying her a blonde wig and a blonde antique bonnet. And I'll show you what she looks like when she has her blonde wig on. And here's Floridora with her blonde wig and her antique bonnet. And I think she looks more like she needs to look.
It is definitely an example of one simple change. Let's see if we can scan down the whole of Floridora in her beautiful, authentic dress. Her wig, just blonde and blue-eyed. There. So this is Floridora going around showing you her beautiful curls on the back of that wig and her new bonnet.
And Floridora is someone I would never part with. If I give these dolls someday to a museum, I don't know how I could ever part with Floridora because she has got such great personality. Isn't she cute? She feels like a companion to me. You know, they made dolls for companions for little girls, but dolls can be companions for big girls too.
Uh-huh. So Floridora is a friend. Okay.
This doll is what they call a Santa doll. It's made by Simon and Helbig, and it has a mold number of 1249. All the the Simon and Helbig dolls with 1249 mold have a birthmark, a little red mark on their lower lip, and they're called Santa dolls. I don't know the history of why they're called Santa dolls, but they just are. I have a niece that was born around Christmas time, and her name is Noelle, so I have named her Miss Noelle.
Oh, and just zooming in, her eyes are so beautiful. We can see the mark on the bottom lip, but her eyes, her blue eyes, her blue-gray eyes are so beautiful.
They have the spiral look to them. This doll is a little more upscale for a German doll. She was made with better hair, better eyes, better clothes. Actually, in Germany, it was interesting. These dolls were all made in the Thuringia Forest area, which is in southern Germany, called Bavaria. And one little town would specialize in eyes, and one little town would specialize in wigs, and one town would specialize in shoes. And so these eyes are top of the line, spiral eyes.
Okay.
Miss Noelle came with this very authentic antique dress, but the dress was too small for her, barely could get it off of her, and I felt that the white washed her out. It didn't enhance her beauty, so I tried a couple different colors and decided on this blue and bought a dress. This dress is not antique, but it is made in an antique style, and it is well made. It's a beautiful dress. And the blue, I think, and it came with a little hat, so I think that she looks much better in her blue. And she is appropriate. She has antique shoes. Those socks are vintage. They're fairly new, and the dress is new, but she's appropriately dressed. And I think it makes her face pop and look more beautiful. And maybe, actually, the interesting thing here is I have just recently ordered or purchased a dress on eBay for her that is antique, and it is aqua silk. And so she is another example of restoration in progress. We continually try to bring out the natural beauty of the doll at the same time working toward getting everything that the doll has on antique. This beautiful doll is an example of a doll that is what we say all original, and that means that her hair is her original wig. Her earrings are original. Her dress was the dress that she originally came with. Her shoes, her socks, everything, totally original. And that makes her quite valuable in the eyes of a collector. However, she's a German doll, and she's middle of the line in terms of money. But I bought her for a very good price. The owner's mother had died, and she said that the doll had been in a box for probably 60 years. And so this doll is in very good shape. You usually don't find these dolls that were made around the turn of the century in this kind of shape. She has this beautiful lace on her dress, just beautiful. But she not only has it on her dress.
Wait, let me get down there.
She not only has it on her dress, she has it on her petticoat. And she not only has it on her petticoat, but she has it on her chemise that goes over her chest, and she has it on her pantaloons. This beautiful antique lace. Beautiful. And you can see her legs are perfectly clean and trim, so she's in great, beautiful shape. And when I received her. The sad thing about unpacking her was this: her eyes were broken. It came from a seller that was not an antique dealer. She didn't know about packing these antique dolls appropriately. All the dolls have hollow heads, and some of the dolls have what they call sleep eyes, which are eyes that shut when they go into the reclined position. And in order for those eyes to open and shut, there is a lead pendulum down inside that hollow head. And in shipping, the heads must be packed with tissue so that lead pendulum doesn't move back and forth. This head was not packed appropriately, and that lead pendulum broke her beautiful glass eyes. All these dolls have very thin glass eyes. And so her eyes were broken, and that was very disturbing. So I contacted the gal who sold it to me, and she was as devastated as I was and paid to have these new eyes put in. And so I sent her to a doll hospital and had her eyes reset. So maybe she's not totally original anymore, because these eyes are antique eyes, but they're new eyes to her. But we got it as close as we could. They are still eyes with eyelashes, and they still will sleep.
And we are showing her to our new collectors as an example of a totally original doll that did not, until the eyes broke, did not need any work on your part. It has the most beautiful layers of lace, is in perfect condition. And about what did you pay for her on eBay? Again, just to let new collectors know these beautiful dolls can be within their reach.
Well, I bought 3 dolls of the 16 dolls that I have in total original condition. And the average for those 3 dolls, and this is one of them, is $300.
So the average price you paid for these beautiful, totally original, large doll was $300. So that is just thrilling to a new collector. I pay $300 for a Bob Mackie original Barbie doll from the 1980s. I have paid $300. So this is thrilling for someone like me and our new collectors, who are our audience, to see.
And actually, you can get an AM doll undressed for under $50. So you can start collecting these dolls without a lot of money.
And AM is Armand?
Armand Marcel.
All right.
This is Scotty, who is a German-made doll, but he, of course, as you see, dressed in his beautiful Scottish outfit. My guess is that he was, after he was made in Germany, he was either sent to Scotland to be dressed, or they dressed him, of course, specifically to go to Scotland, and he was sold there. This is another example of totally original doll. These are the clothes that he came with when he was in his original condition, and he had a single owner, and this person died, and her son sold this doll to me. When I saw Scotty on eBay, I fell in love with this beautiful face and did a lot of research on the mold and so forth. And this is a Kamer Reinhardt or K-Star R122 mold, and it is a character child. And actually, I have 2 dolls with this mold because I think it's just so darling. This doll is my husband's favorite doll.
And how did you buy this doll on eBay? Because you fell in love with it.
It was a buy it now doll, and I debated about purchasing it, but I am so glad that I did. And he is one of the 3 all-original dolls that together I bought all of them for an average of around $300. So.
And for those who don't know, buy it now on eBay means instead of going through the auction process where somebody could outbid you, you're given the opportunity to pay a flat rate. And this collector was so excited about this doll, she said, I've got to grab him by the buy it now process before anybody else can have him. And in a minute, we'll turn him around. And here he is, Scotty.
This is the only baby doll in the collection, and she has a baby body, which means she cannot stand. She has hips that go out to the side and bent knees, and she's made to sit. And she is a baby doll, but you take a good look at this face, and it probably will remind you of Scotty, because it is another K-Star-R mold 122. The mold that I think is so darling, and when I saw her, I thought again, I have to have this doll. She is all original, with her original little coat and hat and her original little white dress. And a tongue in there. Such personality. Each one of them is unique, and I just think she's so sweet. And here she is in her little antique sleigh that I bought for her, and her rabbit comforter there. She's, you can tell now that she's quite small. She's 10 inches tall and all snuggled in. I bought the antique sleigh on eBay as well, and it was fun to accessorize her in this way and give her a place to rest. This doll is a German doll, but she was made for the French market, and I have 3 dolls in the collection that were sold in France. This is the only one that's a German doll, but several of the German dolls were made especially for the French market. Now the difference, one of the big differences between Germany and France, which were the only 2 countries making these porcelain bisque composition dolls at the time, was that the French doll clothes were very elaborate, very beautiful, represented the high fashion of the time in France. And so even though this is a German doll, she's dressed in a French fashion. She's making a French fashion statement, which is appropriate for her. She has her original hat and her original dress that represents the French style, which is much more elaborate than any of the clothes for the German dolls. But she is of the same mold that my 30-inch doll is. She's a Henrik 109 German doll, and I love this face, and I just think it's just a charming, unique, beautiful doll because of her beautiful face. She's 18 inches tall with a fully articulated composition body. Human hair wig, which was much more common in the French market. She has her original human hair wig, original hat and dress. Very fancy. Very beautiful. This is one of 2 French dolls that I have in the collection. And the French dolls were top of the line, set the standard of excellence for bisque doll making. They made fewer dolls, and they made them in factories that had very high quality control. Their eyes were always bigger, their dresses much more elaborate. This doll had a chip in the crown of her head, and I had an opportunity to buy her at half price because of that. She came without any clothes, and I purchased this dress for her from a seamstress in Hungary who took antique fabrics and an authentic antique pattern and beautifully made this dress for her. She has a human hair wig. She came with the wig, with her earrings, and otherwise totally naked, and that was another way I purchased her at a reasonable price. But these French dolls are much, much, much more expensive than the German dolls, and probably considered to be much more beautiful as well. But so they aren't for the beginning collector, and some of them are holding their price over time, some of them are increasing in price, and some of them are decreasing in price. So it's a bit risky to buy French dolls for investing purposes, but some people do. I bought this doll simply because I think she's beautiful. She's a tête jumeau from the Jumeau company that made dolls for over 80 years in Paris. Miss Jumeau is a number 6 tête jumeau, which means she's 15 inches tall. She's beautiful. I just love her.
She does have the most beautiful curls. And what kind of a wig is that? Mohair?
That's
Human hair.
Human hair wig.
And that is more typical in the French market.
This is a French fashion doll, and she came in a navy dress that I didn't like very well, so I had this dress made for her out of antique fabric. I also bought actually an antique dress for her that's made out of velvet.
Let me scan down this dress first. Made of antique fabric.
This is her skirt.
Okay, wait 1 second. We're looking at the other dress. Okay, I need to scan back. And here's the antique dress you bought for her.
Made of velvet, red velvet, and green velvet. And this is her jacket for her dress.
And just turn that jacket around to show the beautiful, flamboyant bustle. All right, so this is an example of buying an antique dress and having a dress made from antique fabric. And we'll stop there.